Welcome to Open Studio, where we put a spotlight on the arts, artists, and issues in the cultural community. I'm Tom Musgrave. The University of Kentucky's Department of Arts Administration is unique in its offering of graduate and doctoral degree programs that are completely online. My guest today, Dr. Rachel Shane, chair of that department, was recently honored by the university with the William B. Sturgill Award, one of UK's top honors for graduate education. Among the many reasons she was selected was for her expansion of the program to include those online degree offerings, as well as multiple graduate certificate programs. So welcome, Rachel.
Thank you, Tom.
Well, congratulations on this award. What does it mean for you, and what does it mean for the College of Fine Arts and Department of Arts Administration?
Well, this is the most significant honor I've ever received in my professional life. I am so deeply grateful to be recognized by the university for this work. You know, one of the things it means for the College of Fine Arts is there's only been one other recipient of this award in the history of the award since 1975. So is this the second recipient in all those years? I think it's nice that the College of Fine Arts is recognized for the types of graduate education that they provide to the Commonwealth and beyond.
And I think that last recipient was Arturo B. Sandoval, so you are both in each other's good company, I've got to say. So well done. A lot of folks who interact with the arts, and I want to get into sort of what arts administration is, audience members, gallery, and museum visitors, see the public-facing product, obviously, but I know there's a lot that has to happen months in advance, sometimes even years, before doors open or the curtain rises on a performance. What kind of careers are you preparing undergraduates and graduates for in that field?
Yeah, so arts administration, really looking at the business aspect of the arts in all of its capacities, prepares everyone, I would say, and including the artists who work in any kind of cultural industry. So many times you look at the curriculum of arts administration and you think, oh, I'd expect those classes to be seen in business. And we are business. This is the business of arts and culture. And what makes it different or special is that we have some nuance. So it's just a very specialized area. So for instance, we are preparing to launch our second undergraduate degree program this fall. In addition to the BA in Arts Administration, we'll begin offering a specialization, which will be a BA in music industry. So in a field like music industry, one of the things that's incredibly important is venue management. So we'll be talking so much about like live performance. Well, a lot of businesses don't have to contend with all the different aspects that come with venue management when you're dealing with both how to make the artist sound the best in that space and then how to accommodate the audience safely and enjoyably in that space.
On the topic of venue management, making an artist sound good in that space is an art in and of itself. Is that right?
Absolutely. And so like in our new degree program, recording is part of that aspect. So they'll be able to specialize in recording or something like venue management. They'll also have an education in legal issues, which are abundant, particularly right now with the AI trends. But have always been copyright infringement, even contracts. So we teach our students about contract law so that they understand how to both represent themselves individually if they're an artist, but also represent their organization if they're contracting people to work for them. So we also deal with management issues, financial management, marketing, fundraising. So all of these different aspects, we kind of look at it as what we would consider someone would be maybe a generalist coming out, having some information about all the aspects that it takes to run an arts organization.
Do you anticipate a lot of students who are maybe performing artists or performing arts majors themselves of the varying disciplines, theater, music, dance, perhaps pursuing courses in that program to self-manage?
I think it's possible. We also offer classes that are more specifically designed for artists. So we have a class called Making a Living, Making Art. And the idea here is to teach students who want to pursue careers as artists to be able to manage that impactfully and effectively. I mean, one of the very basic things is, well, how am I considered? Am I an employee? And am I an independent contractor? Am I a sole proprietor? Do I operate my business of performing or visual arts as a sole proprietor or an LLC? So how do I market? How do I put up my socials? So those are so we have very specifics in that case. And then we also have students who add on often. So to diversify their portfolio so that when they leave school, the undergraduate level, perhaps they'll go out with a double major in theater and arts administration, or arts administration and dance, or arts administration digital media design, so they can be more fluid between the kinds of jobs that people take. Because we know often artists end up in positions where they're running their own organization because they want to meet their own goals.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something whenever I talk to artists, individual artists for this program or any other work that I do, make explicit that you're not. It's not just the discipline of the art that you do. It's also, if you want to make a living at it, it's keeping the books and designing a booth and or coming up with a resume and promotional materials for whatever service you provide as an artist.
Absolutely.
And it also leads nicely into the next question I'd like to ask you. There may be a misconception out there that arts administrators are office workers, functionaries with no real connection to the creativity that they're helping to present. I've been able to talk to a number of your undergrads over the years, and all of them, in addition to being arts administration majors, are studying one or more artistic disciplines. Why is that important?
So it's critically important because this is what makes us unique. So I often try to explain to people who've never heard of arts administration, which is the vast majority of people, by the way, that what makes it so special, as opposed to why would I need a degree in arts administration? Shouldn't I just get one in business? Is the creation of this type of product is very individualized. We cannot just go and say, oh, I'm going to replace musician A with musician B, right? It's not the same as saying I want a Coke or I want a Pepsi.
Right.
It is not just the exact same thing. There are specialties and nuances, and we have to know how to work with artists who bring those things to the table. And so it's really about being able to be a creative with other creators. So do we know how to make a spreadsheet? Absolutely. Students coming out of the program are going to know how to make a spreadsheet, but there's an art to throwing an event. And that is like a place where a lot of creativity comes. Everything we do in the arts is ultimately about creating a production, an event, an experience. And that isn't just sitting behind a computer. That is collaboration and planning and execution and creativity.
And I imagine it helps to speak, if not the same language, artistic language, a similar language with the people that are providing that service. Musicians, in the case of an orchestra or a choir, an artist who is having an opening in a museum, or a particular gallery exhibit, focusing on one or more artists.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if we can't speak the language, or we don't know what they go through in that creative process to get to the experience, then we can't be supportive administrators and bring it to audiences. So we really have to be able to function on both sides of it. I talk about arts administration. Ultimately, what we're doing is we're connecting artists with audiences.
I want to talk about the master's and doctoral programs and the online nature of them. What does offering those programs online mean for potential students in those programs?
So we started working on the master's in arts administration in 2011. I had been at the University of Kentucky for 6 months and came in, and there was the former provost was offering a seed funding to come up with innovative ideas to bring more students into the University of Kentucky. And I suggested, or I put in a proposal, to build an online arts administration master's degree. At that time, there was one other online master's degree, which I had built at my former institution. So what I knew was that there was no public university being able to offer this kind of education online, which increased access. My other institution was private. There were, different nuances there. Here we could create something that I thought would reach into all the areas of the Commonwealth and hopefully beyond. But at the time, I was really focused on, well, what about all the arts that's going on within the Commonwealth in the 120 counties where they're not living in Lexington to get an arts administration education? What if we could put this in an online format where we could be supporting arts and culture in every county by offering tools and an education to get there? So we launched the program in 2013, and really quickly we were surprised at the number of students that came, not just from the Commonwealth, but well beyond, including international students. And we were just the third online program in totality at the University of Kentucky at the time. Now there's many. But at that time, there was just 3 of us. And so it was really a long process of also building systems and understanding within a university structure of what that population of students potentially needs. We designed the program from the very beginning to be for an adult learner. So it was always about people being able to work full-time and take courses. So I would say 90% of our students take 6 credit hours, which is part-time enrollment according to university and federal standards. So they take 6 credit hours. And we said, well, we also have to offer classes all summer long, which is not that normal in a university environment that typically runs on an academic year. But arts organizations also, vast majority of them, run on an academic year cycle. So that means actually their employees are more able to focus on coursework in the summer when they have a little more free time. So that became a real linchpin of being able to, let's definitely make sure we can do this during the summer when students may have more flexibility as well.
You mentioned the reach of these programs and that it actually is international. What's the furthest the furthest nation in which you've had a student participate in either the master's or doctoral program?
We've had Italy. We've had Mauritius. We've had India. So they've really been quite varied. Germany.
That's interesting. So are they were they or are they students who are active as arts administration professionals right now, just seeking a little bit more education in it?
Yeah, that was the majority of them were active arts administrators. In fact, our student who graduated that was in Italy, and some of them are international students, and some of them are actually U.S. citizens that are stationed abroad for some reason. So in Italy, that happened to be a service member. So she was running the military band. Located in Italy at the time. She was preparing to retire from the military and wanted to use her education credit to get that arts administration degree so she could transfer her music administration within military into a civilian workforce.
Wow. That's interesting. That and the reach is still sort of mind-boggling. That an online, but I guess that's the goal of an online program. You're not limited by geography, are you?
We're not limited by geography, which also means we get to confront really interesting things that are taking place where those students are. So the classroom space online becomes a really interesting sharing mechanism for getting to hear what's happening in my community versus what's happening in this community over here. We don't necessarily have one shared community other than the one that we're in. So they're bringing examples from all across the country and the world, which make the conversations particularly unique.
And you hit upon something that I want to, I'd like you to dispel the notion that online learning means that you are learning solo in a silo. That's a weird formation of words there, but that you're on your own, you're in a vacuum. Can you dispel that and talk about a little bit about how you create a classroom type environment, even though the learners are maybe sitting in their living rooms or in their home offices or wherever?
Yeah, absolutely. I did a lot of research when we were launching this program, and I learned about the primary reasons that students drop out of online degree programs. And number one is isolation, and number two is technology issues. So I said, within our faculty and our instructional design team, I never want those to be any reason a student has to leave our program. There's some things we'll never be able to control, right? Something's happened in the family. It's just no longer a priority, these kinds of things. There are going to be students who don't finish because of that.
And that would happen in an in-person environment too,
100%,
probably. Yeah.
100%. So we worked to create an online environment that focused on how do we make those connections. So first, we have actual faculty members serve as all the advisors to the students. So those students are meeting with faculty members that are full-time faculty in Lexington, Kentucky, and being able to be advised just like you would sit in an office. We meet on, a video conferencing system. We talk about coursework. We give advice, career, advice, look at resumes. We do all of that as one-on-one meetings. So first, it's through this faculty advisement. Now, in the courses that we build, one of the things that surprises most people is how long it takes us to build an online course. So typically it will take us 9 to 12 months to build an online course from the original draft of an outline to a complete experience. And that's because we don't have just one faculty member working on that experience. They're writing it as the expert, what we call the subject matter expert. They know what needs to be taught. But then we have a team of instructional designers who help them put that together in a way that the students can engage in the class and with the other students that becomes meaningful. So we have to make the right balance between, say, having individual assignments and things that require group connection because, of course, they are busy. They're in different time zones or all these things. But not every assignment is even completed individually. We have group assignments. Where students manage and get together with one another to talk about the project at hand. There are discussions that take place within the learning management system. So that might be a text-based discussion. It might also be video-based. We also put together the ability for students to be able to review one another's work through a peer review cycle, so they're getting to see what other people are doing. Because it's also really important to us not to position the instructor in any classroom, even on campus, that they're the only person who holds knowledge in the room. So we have to take our experiences and respect everybody's individual experiences and in life and work, and then be able to the instructor's job is then to facilitate that learning around the theoretical frameworks that we're talking about for that course, right? So how do I take your experience, Tom, and put it in a particular course so you can understand a concept and learn those things, but not disregard what you already are bringing to the table?
Okay, yeah. I've got to ask, have technologies like Zoom and Microsoft Teams become more relevant in that kind of online learning, or were they things that you were doing even before the pandemic, where it became necessary to our lives?
Yeah, so we were using So at first, we always had video conferencing. We used to use where we were really embedded in the Google education space. So we were using Google's video. We did transition to Zoom at one point because the university did. But yeah, it was interesting because we actually launched the doctoral program in fall of 2020. And of course, it was designed and meant to be an online program. We worked and built that program over 4 years before we launched it. And there was still such an irony about launching it during the pandemic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess, did that affect, because it was online anyway, did that affect the dynamics of it at all?
It affected the dynamics because the pandemic affected the dynamics of the world,
Well,
right?
yeah.
What I will say is we were offering a very different experience than what had to happen in other educational spaces where we were just transitioning to do something very quick.
Yeah.
So as I said, if it's taking us 12 months to get a class impactful and meaningful experience, nobody could do that during the pandemic when we just had to switch over all of a sudden. So at least we could offer the properly designed experience for those initial cohort of students.
And your undergrads, of course, were shifting gears rapidly to which I should say the undergrad course or the undergrad program is in person.
It is. Our undergraduate programming is all in person.
But they had to shift gears, on both sides, the instructor side and the student side, shift gears to adapt.
Absolutely.
Rapidly.
Yes.
So we're recording this in mid to late May because at the end of the month you're heading overseas, and we're lucky to get you in the recording studio now. Tell us what that's all about.
Yeah. So I have been teaching a class in Paris, France, called Cultural Tourism. This will be the 5th time I've taken students to Paris to teach this course. And it's a really fun experience to be able to teach students about something that's pretty unique, cultural tourism. Of course, tourism isn't, right? We have it all over Kentucky.
Yeah.
But in this case, I get to take them to the city that is considered the most significant cultural tourist location in the world, meaning this is the place most visited for cultural viewing. So we would be talking about going to museums or going to heritage sites, festivals, things that are built, right? So in Paris, we all think Eiffel Tower, which is a cultural site, right? And was built for the World's Fair.
Yeah.
And we talk to them and teach them how we look at things a little differently from just being a tourist. So we provide them with the language of tourism. So how do we understand tourists, their needs and their desires? And then we also look at what do we do if we are a tourist location and want to try to get more tourists. So we talk about things that are called markers, like all the signs maybe you even see, even in Lexington here, right? So you come into Lexington, you see a sign that points you to Keeneland. Well, that's a marker. That's a tourism marker. And so it's recognizing that all of this serves a purpose, that develops a location for tourism. Then we also talk about the downside of tourism, the degradation of sites, things that take away from a tourist experience, and things that potentially have the ability to damage the actual location.
So you're talking about preservation.
Preservation, sustainability. You're also looking at, you bring 3 million people into a location that isn't used to having that. What happens to the site?
Yeah. I mean, obvious physical damage. You can't avoid that.
Yep.
I want to thank Dr. Rachel Shane, Chair of UK's Department of Arts Administration within the College of Fine Arts and recipient of the 2026 William B. Sturgill Award. Thanks for being with us. Listen to Open Studio every Friday during WUKY's Morning Edition and in the afternoon during All Things Considered. Or listen to extended segments at the Open Studio podcast, available at WUKY.org or wherever you get your podcasts. Do you have an idea for an Open Studio segment? We're always on the lookout for news and events in Central Kentucky's arts and cultural community. Email us at openstudiowuky@gmail.com or visit our Facebook page, keywords Open Studio on WUKY. Your idea may make it on the air. I'm Tom Musgrave. Thanks for listening to Open Studio on WUKY.